once again to another episode of Speaking with Gravity, the podcast. I am Joshua Williams.
Hello, everyone. I am Hannah Williams.
And Terrence Dawkins.
And we are your hosts. This is our eighth episode of the season now. So the eighth episode that you've seen, this group together, we are the new group of Speaking with Gravity, the new faces of Speaking with Gravity of this podcast. So and of course we're excited, just as excited as we were in episode 1, right?
Yes.
For you all inviting us into your homes, into your phones,
into your ears,
into your ears, right. So we can talk about mental health and how everything affects everything. As Kervin would always say. Today we're talking about unseen struggles in the workplace. Mm-hmm. So just thinking about the idea that that we go through things in the workplace, right? We have triggers, mental health triggers in the workplace. Sometimes, y'all, we bring stuff to work from home or from wherever, too. And we allow those things to affect us in the workplace, sometimes bleed over into other people, and they get to affecting other people, too. So we have to be watchful, have to be careful, as we always say, about what we're going through, right? And about how things are affecting us, right? And so I'm very interested. Once again, y'all, I'm not a mental health professional. I'm not in counseling, therapy, or the like. These two beside me, y'all, these are rock stars right here.
I don't know about all that,
these are rock
I
stars
appreciate it.
They know what they talk about. Now, we do want to preface, we don't want things said and done on the show to be taken as your mental health therapy, right? Mm-hmm. As therapy. But these two beside me, though, they do know a little bit of what they talk about, a lot more than what I know, right?
No, but you picking up on a lot of stuff now. You starting to use a lot of mental health terminology and language. Yeah,
I'm learning. I'm learning from the best, brother. So I'm learning from the best.
Don't try to downplay that, buddy.
Right.
Okay, I won't do it. I'm learning from the best. But speaking about that, y'all, I'm curious about clients, right, that are coming to you all. And they, some of their stressors are coming from the workplace. Mm-hmm. I'm curious of what they say, right? And curious, if some of our audience may identify with what some of your clients are saying. So I want to start off like that, if it's okay. What are some of the stressors that people are saying that they find in the workplace?
I think the people within the workplace can be one of the biggest challenges. What I've heard people say is that it's not the actual work or the task that they're challenged with. It is operating and communicating with the people that they work with, which is the biggest challenge. And just as counselors and therapists, we value communication. I know within the field of counseling, it's easy to talk to my coworker or communicate with my supervisor and expect some type of healthy communication in return because we're all counselors. However, that's not the same in every field of work. Okay. So I just want to say that your quality of life depends. There's a great correlation between work and your quality of life. So I hear a lot of people complaining about work, and in exchange, their quality of life is somewhat low. However, they may look at me and be like, "Hey, you're super happy. You're super energetic." Well, I love what I do every day.
Amen.
Mm-hmm. So I see that one of the biggest challenges is just interacting and being able to work with the people in your workplace.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I had a client who pretty much was having some issues with a coworker and that they couldn't work with that particular coworker, or every time that coworker shows up, he gets frustrated, upset, and it causes big issues like anger outbursts and things like that. So I like to, just to play off what you said, it's not about what other people do.
That's it.
Right? It's about how it impacts you. So why does this particular coworker makes you upset? Mm-hmm. What about it? It's about actions or behaviors make you upset. And how can we work on that part of it? Because you're probably not going to be able to change, again, your coworker or your boss, but you can change how you respond and react to it and what it is triggering inside of you. Mm-hmm. So I feel like a lot, and then I can go with, bosses, and I can go with coworkers or any other issue in the workplace. We need to work on why is it impacting you so much that is causing these behaviors to arise, and how can we work on those things?
Go ahead.
No, you go. Please.
I want to bring it all the way back to step one,
What's
and
step
that
one?
is do you enjoy your work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you value what you do? Do you feel like your contribution to society is valuable? And in my studies, what I've learned is that the more someone, we have to understand our values and our interests and our values and our interest in life in order to connect that with some type of work. So we're completely, if I'm interested in animals, but here I am every day working with computers, there's some type of disconnect there. And that may show through frustration. That may show through anxiety. That may show through depression. However, there's a disconnect. And, I don't want to be naive and say that we are always obligated to work in a field that we're super passionate about. That would be ideal. And, that's ideal. However, some people have to be the breadwinner of their household. So they have to work certain jobs where they're solely able to provide for their families or even for themselves. So I don't want to be naive to that. But I just want to bring it back to, if you enjoy what you do, it's easier to interact with those hard, those difficult people. It's easier to interact with those people because it's on every job. No job is perfect.
Beautiful, beautiful. I think for me too, y'all, because I've had situations. I had one where I feel like somebody wanted to fight me at work, and all I did was tell them something. I told them really how it was affecting our image as a workplace, and doggone, like they about lost it on me. But it was okay. I think it's important, y'all, to see people from a standpoint of human, right, and give people grace. And I with me, it's never, kind of like Terrence said, it's never, about the person. It's always about me, right? What can I do in this situation to be an asset, right? To be valuable to the other person in this situation. If we can think of things like, sometimes it's hard, but if we can think of things like that too, right, and be more purpose driven, right, in that regard, I think that'll help us out a lot because. A lot of times, y'all, I think we can be selfish, right?
Yeah.
And we think about how it's affecting me, and that's all that matters. But what about the other person, right? If we can try to understand the other person, right, and what they're going through, they could be having a bad day, right? This person, they ready to launch out at me. Ain't no telling what kind of day they was having. And then as we talked about it, the questions I was asking, I found out they were having a bad day.
Right.
they was having a bad day, extremely bad day. Medical issues and everything, right? So we never know. So that understanding, and that's just something you have to put into your character, y'all. That's working on yourself. But yeah. I also think, y'all, too, some jobs are demanding too.
All right.
Right? Some jobs are demanding, some jobs are stressful. Do you ever run into people, right, who has a job, who's working a job and their duties are really stressful for them? And if so, what kind of advice do you offer them?
It depends for me, honestly. It kind of goes back to, are you enjoying your job? But then it also goes to, oh well, I have to do this job because if I don't, then I'm not going to be able to provide for my family. What was coming to my mind was, you have people that are doing jobs that they don't like. Because they feel like they have to. Now in therapy, I start to work with, I can't tell you to go find another job or to quit your job. But what I can do is start to work with that part of you that feels like you have to do it. And we start to work with that with different therapy techniques and to try to help, reshape or reframe that particular belief. So again, as a therapist, it's not my job to change anything. It's just my job to help guide you to reframe how you look at a certain situation. But that whole thing of I have to do it, or I must do it, or if I don't do it, then this will happen. Well, it's not because you're happy doing it, but you're doing it in order to prevent something else from happening, which then kind of leads us down this deeper hole.
Yeah, and I just want to acknowledge that, of course, some fields and some jobs are much more demanding than other jobs. So a doctor and a cashier, two different type of work settings. However, a doctor is obligated to make decisions that can impact someone's life or death. A cashier, also, a demanding job, but in a different aspect. They deal with money and they have they have ethical issues, just like doctors to make. So jobs can be demanding versus less demanding. However, I think it's how we deal with the stress, how we deal with that level of demand, that determines our quality of life in such an amazing way. And I say that because if we're waking up every day and we know that we're going to be faced with some stressful situations or some difficult decisions to make, how do we enter that space? Are we intentional about moving slow in the mornings if we know that our job is going to be fast-paced? Or do we wake up fast-paced and just enter another fast-paced environment without giving our bodies grace? So I said that to say that stress management is very important when we think about our mental health and the place that we work at.
Beautiful. Yeah, and I think so we talk often about setting boundaries, right, with people, also setting boundaries with your job, your job as well. I think it's really important. I had I don't want to say a boss, I'll say a leader, because that's the type of person, that's the type of personality that they were. A leader that once told me, if you need to, at 5 o'clock, cut off. Cut off. Create that boundary, right? No matter how much work that you have, it'll get done. Right? The deadlines, whatever, or even put yourself in a position, right? Like we talking about stress management, managing your priorities, right? What are priorities for me in my work, in my job? Managing priorities is so important, y'all. And so I have to, and myself, so my job is, there's a lot of different parts to my job that I have to be aware of. So I really have I have a system. It's important. A system can be very important when you're in a demanding job or a job that's demanding to you. It might not be demanding to me, but to you, all the nuances may be demanding for you. When you're in a job like that, really having a system is really important, and managing that system. Sometimes I have to go back and retool that system, but I'm being intentional about where I'm trying to go and prioritizing. But my system, I have to prioritize everything. So if it's very important for that day, it gets 5 stars. If it's important but not as, it gets 4 stars. If it's not that important for that day, but I know I still need to have it on my mind, it'll get 1 star. But I just think that's really important. Is having yourself a system that can save you a lot of stress. Can save you a lot of stress right there. So that as a boundary itself.
Yeah. I agree. Organization is very important, and just prioritizing those tasks. Prioritizing tasks brings some level of peace in knowing that, okay, once I accomplish task number 1, I'm able to move on to task number 2, and you're able to directly see what you have presented in front of you for that day. And of course, I know other tasks may come, but prioritizing tasks is one of the easiest ways to just manage stress on your workforce. Something else I think about in unseen struggles in your workplace is that some employees or some coworkers may have hidden disabilities that we don't even know about that may impact their work. So how are we interacting with individuals not knowing their personal story, not knowing what's going on at home? How are we providing grace? How are we providing empathy? And how are we just showing up as a coworker to our other coworkers? That says a lot about us.
Yeah. Like you said, I keep on thinking of unseen, and that's an unseen one. Like a disability can be unseen, right? Disability isn't just something that is visible, right? But then also unseen things of like you mentioned earlier, things that are going on at home that I didn't come to work, and now I got an attitude with someone, or they get an attitude with me, and then I just flip out on them, but they don't know what happened at home. Right. So being mindful that, again, I like to always say, everybody has a story. So not taking things personal at work, right? Or having simple conversations at work to communicate, hey, I was wrong, or hey, I am not in the mood today. Just something to really let somebody else know, like your boss or coworkers know, today's not the day.
Right.
But you ain't got to do that with a bad attitude or do that with reacting to what they said, but you can communicate that to them.
And I think about 3 words. I think about awareness, of your own feelings and your own experiences. Accountability, how you were talking about, and that can be difficult in the workplace because we've seen those individuals that don't want to take accountability, whether it's a work-related task that they completely messed up on, or even something more casual. We've seen people not take accountability, and in exchange, it impacts us. But also forgiveness. Forgiveness in the workforce. It can often be easier to forgive our families or the ones that we share a household with, or our friends, because we have that type of personal bond. But what about forgiveness in the workplace? It's not so easy because you're not directly attached to that person. And sometimes we may feel obligated to not want to forgive a coworker because our feelings are hurt. But I think that word forgiveness is so important in order to move past something that happened with somebody, a coworker or a supervisor, so that you are able to grow and move forward.
I think it's that mindfulness, accountability, all that is so important, y'all. I think one reason it's important, a lot of times there are underlying issues, right, for our behaviors when we come to work, or for us bringing certain things to work. I think about people who work. A lot of times it's to overcompensate, right, for their insecurities, for their feelings of inferiority, right? So I think about people like that. I also think about people who don't like people at work,
Right.
right? And so they come to work and they don't want to communicate, right? So they have that barrier up there of communicating, and that causes more problems, right?
Yeah.
And those are unseen struggles sometimes that people are dealing with, people who are lonely, right? People who are lonely, and they come and they're coming to work,
projecting that,
and even isolating themselves, right?
I can add to that.
Please.
So one unseen struggle that a lot of people in the workplace may deal with is the hierarchy of power. Power is something that is so relevant when we talk about work and when we talk about interacting with our coworkers and supervisors. Some people are power driven, and they want that title. They want that office in the corner, so that, like you were saying earlier, they no longer feel inferior to the individuals around them. So I know when we talk about power and interacting with individuals that seek it, that can be challenging as well.
Yeah, I always thought that was a thing for me. I was kind of taught, you want to be the best and the brightest, and all of that. And I've went on that journey of scaling myself, not scaling my potential back, but scaling myself back, right, from thinking in that way, right? Because I feel like you can run into a lot of problems for yourself and for other people, right? You can start overworking yourself, right? And then you can just put yourself in competition with people sometimes when there's no need for no competition at all. So I think that's something that I've, just to share personally, something that I've worked on. And, really looking for other people. It's not about me. It's not about me at all. I'll get what's meant for me.
Right.
At the end of the day, I truly believe that. So that was a great point, Hannah, bringing up that point about power. Yeah.
And I think it's a lot of, like I said this in a previous episode, external things going on that impacts the internal. So you have external things such as the hierarchy of work, or the power that my boss has that probably sometimes take advantage of.
Right.
But it all boils down to you, the individual. So if you, the individual, is able to manage your own emotions, or you, the only individual that knows how to cope when you're triggered, then a lot of the things that might impact you at work probably won't do it as much anymore. So I think it's a lot of times we got to figure out, how do we work with our own systems, our own bodies, to try to cope with these things, no matter what external factor happens, whether that's at work or at home or anywhere else.
All right, and I just want to shift gears just a little bit because we talked about interacting with, we talked about different challenges that we've seen our clients face in the workplace, but also talking about those different disabilities, whether they're seen or unseen. A lot of mental health conditions are invisible. So we may see the manifestations of them. Like, for example, a person that is depressed may be more isolated. or they may be they may be uninterested during a business meeting. And here we are second guessing, why is this person so uninterested? Why are they so distant? Whole time they may be depressed. Another example is anxiety. That can show up in our coworkers with someone that's constantly second guessing themselves or feeling like they're not enough. And then another example is ADD, and that can show up in our coworkers or even in ourselves as impulsive decision making. So making decisions very impulsive, very quickly without thinking about the long-term consequences. So just wanted to put that nugget in.
I appreciate that, Hannah. Yeah, because I think about as leaders, right? Like you get a lot of people in management that's supposed to be managing people, but I like the term leader so much more. As leaders, I think we have to be conscious about the people who we're supposed to be managing, right? And the toll sometimes or the effect that our systems and whatnot are having on people, right? Because at the end of the day, if you want production to be at its highest, you need the people. You need the people to be at their best potential, right? So I think that I think one thing leaders can do is create an expectation, right? That you can come to me, right? That my door is open, even if I don't have all the problems. Let's get you. Let's get you some. What can I do, right? What can I do to help you out in this situation? So it's a better atmosphere for you. I think it's incumbent upon our leaders in the workplace to do just that, right? Because I've been in atmospheres where it's very rigid, and I've been in ones where it's very flexible, and that permeates through the entire organization, right? Through the workplace. It gets into the culture. We talked about that before. Workplace culture. It gets into the culture of how we conduct ourselves. And you know what? I saw one time. I saw the CEO, I guess you could say, director or whatever. He or she, whatever. The way that they carried themselves was so strong that all the managers that fell up under them carried themselves in the exact same way. And it was very toxic. And they started, and I know that it wasn't necessarily a part of their personality so much, but they just started, because that culture was so strong there, they started conducting themselves in a very similar way. It was an ugly thing. Too. So I think that when you're in a leadership role, you have to be mindful of, right, where your what's influencing you. I would say that, because then whatever's influencing you, you're probably gonna influence the people who are coming to you, who are reporting to you in the same type of way.
Yeah.
Right. And then guess what? Those people can go home and can influence their children in
It's
that
a
same
pattern.
way. It's a pattern. It's a pattern, right? And all these things we get right there from work, y'all. Ain't that something? Yeah.
I think another element I want to add is that we have to understand the personalities and the work style of the people that we're working around. One thing, so I started a new job in January, and one of my coworkers, she's another counselor. She asked me, she said, "Are you type A or type B personality?" I was like, I'm a combination. And bless you. And the reason why I said we have to understand different different personalities and styles of the people around us is because we're able to initially communicate with that person in their personality style or in the work style that they operate in. So, for example, type A people, they can be ambitious, competitive, more organized, time conscious. So they're strict on those deadlines. And we know that that's completely different from type B individuals that a little more relaxed, a little more relaxed, patient, easygoing, less hostile. So when we think about interacting with a supervisor, even having a difficult conversation with a coworker, how do we approach that conversation? How do we process things within inside of us? Like Terrence often says, how do we respond in a manner where we're able to get success out of whatever situation we're going through? So just evaluating and analyzing someone's work style and their personality styles is very important.
So I saw a report, y'all. It said 43% of employees believe that if they told their employer about a mental health condition, it would have a negative impact on them at work. what if I don't feel like I can trust my boss with knowing that I'm feeling anxious or depressed or insecure or just not in a good state, or I'm having challenges to my mental well-being? Mm-hmm. What if I feel I can't trust my boss? What would y'all say?
I'd say if you can't trust your boss, there's still other places you can go, other resources that your job should have to help you with, verbalizing those things, whether that's an employee assistance program, mm-hmm. whether that is, going talking to a representative at Human Resources, which people probably want to stay away from Human Resources too. I understand that too, but there's different resources probably at the job that you can utilize even if you don't trust your boss. Mm-hmm. So educating yourself about those resources so you know your options instead of suffering in silence, I think is the best option.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. A cool thing about how our American government operates is that you don't necessarily have to reveal that you have a disability to your direct supervisor. Like Terrence was saying, there's other avenues that you can go to still seek some type of work accommodations or some type of extra support, such as through the EAP program, Employee Assistance Program. So just looking at and researching different options to seek more support is very important.
And some people don't understand that their boss is human too. Mm-hmm. So what I had to do, I learned my boss. I was mm-hmm. willing to put in some time to learn my boss. A lot of people at this particular job that I was at, they didn't like the boss or whatever. He's controlling all these things. I took some time, man. Whenever I was in their office, man, I just took some time to just talk to them, mm-hmm. right? Ask them about their background, even, how they got there, what was important to them, and so I got to know them. And then when I feel as though when you get to know someone, right, when you are having problems, right, or challenges or whatever, you better know how to put them, right, in a way where they can understand what you're going through. Not saying that's going to work all the time, right, but at least you're a little more comfortable, I feel, right? I feel like, and a little more confident. Your boss is no longer your boss, right? It's this person that's in this role that, is responsible for you. So making it human, right? Making that interaction, making that experience human, and not putting too much pressure on yourself. I know it's helped out with me a lot, but yeah.
And that just adds to one point that I said in one of our previous episodes about doing things out of love. Mm-hmm. And I'm so cautious about using that word love because, we're talking about the workplace, but what intention and what tone are we going into the conversation with? Mm-hmm. If we're already feeling critical and this person owes me something, if we already have that hostility within us, we're most likely not going to get success out of whatever conversation we're about to approach. But if you just take a step back, process our feelings, watch our tone of voice, watch our language, like you often say, Terrence, then we're able to enter that conversation in a different perspective.
What are some strategies y'all would say for supporting yourself, right, while you're at work, right, when you're going through those things? I think y'all have been great. Y'all spoke on really communicating, right, and taking the initiative, I would say, taking responsibility, accountability of yourself. One that I was thinking about was the rest and self-care.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was about to say.
You was about to say it?
Yeah.
Well, come on, you talk about it.
Well, it's just, that's an area where I feel like I personally have to improve in, because I got that hustle culture, from my mom. We always work. But I feel like taking that time to do some type of self-care, something that you enjoy, or learning a new skill or learning something different, is something that, it can help take the stress off of the work situation. So if I know, yes, I'm going to go in here and I might get some type of stressful situation, but when I leave, I get to go ride my motorcycle. Guess what I'm thinking about? Right. Not the person that I'm, having some issues with, or the circumstances. I'm thinking about riding my motorcycle. Right? So I have something to look forward to, and I think that's what it really boils down to. What do you have to look forward to? If the only thing you have to look forward to is this negative experience at work, you're probably going to have some type of negative reaction or emotion from it. But if I have something to look forward to outside of work, I can get through this because I have this waiting on me. Right. And I think that's very important.
So prioritizing, you said, taking breaks and prioritizing rest, I think is another element. self-care, getting adequate rest the night before you go to work so that you're able to be present and so you're able to just communicate and have more logical thinking. So sufficient rest is very important when we talk about our mental health and on the workplace. Like you said, prioritizing and taking breaks. So breaks are very important. Just from my experience, the people that say, oh, I don't even have a lunch break, I don't even take a break to eat, those are usually the people that don't like their job or, are in these fields that are more demanding. And in return, their personal lives are very stressful. So prioritizing breaks, prioritizing eating. We often think about wants and needs. And a want is, okay, after I finish this day, I want to ride my motorcycle. A need is, hey, I didn't eat breakfast. I didn't drink coffee this morning. I've even had a bottle of water to drink. I need water. I need to eat. And I might need to take a nap before I ride that motorcycle. So prioritizing our needs over our wants is very important. But I like what you said, using the reward system. Mm-hmm. I do that for myself, whether it's in school or whether it's in the workplace. Once I meet a certain deadline or once I complete a certain task, rewarding myself in some type of way. I keep like Starburst in my desk. So once I do something super good that day, I'm like, okay, I can eat a Starburst, and that's just a small reward. Yeah. But those personal rewards make a huge difference in how we're able to operate within our work culture.
Beautiful, beautiful. I don't have the Starburst, but man, when I do something, when I complete a task, I might get up and walk. Mm-hmm. I might just give myself some time, just some space, right? Some space away from it. Some space to say, okay, I did this, right? Mm-hmm. I got some more work to look forward to, but as I'm walking, right, how can I kind of prepare for it? How can I calm down from it? Show myself that it's not as big as I'm making it. A lot of times, walking does that for me. A lot of times, I be in the office, y'all, and I know like folks be looking at me like I'm crazy because I will get up and I will walk and I will brainstorm, right? I'll be walking and brainstorm. Sometimes I go outside and take a walk, and it helps me, right. to get away from the just the routine of it all. Routine can be a hindrance of creativity. Mm-hmm. I feel like routine can be a hindrance of creativity. Right. So. I also want to add that if we know someone that is experiencing those unseen struggles in their workplace, offer support to that individual. Please. Whether it's a random text during the day, like, hey, you got this, keep going. There's so many motivational memes that we can just screenshot and send someone in the middle of the day that can just add a level of happiness or some level of peace, or hey, this person is thinking about me, I'm going through these challenges at work, but just knowing that they have that support and someone understands and sees the situation they're going through, it makes a world of difference. Yeah. Mm-hmm. How we feeling, y'all?
Good, man. Good.
Feeling about this? Y'all got any more, y'all?
She said it perfectly. I'm gonna tell you one thing I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take me a break, and I'm gonna eat. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do.
And we want some feedback from you all. So what are some workplace struggles that you all may be experiencing? Mm-hmm. We love hearing feedback from you all. So please comment. Chat with us.
Yep. Most definitely. Well, y'all. I enjoyed that episode myself. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed it. I work in workforce development, so I'm always thinking about, as we're building things out for the workforce and better systems that lead to better productivity. This is something that's important for me. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate you all for the guidance and the help that y'all gave me. And I appreciate you all, of course, as always, for tuning in and Speaking with Gravity. Please subscribe to Speaking with Gravity. Subscribe on YouTube. Find us and subscribe on those podcast networks as well as social media. Please follow. Check us out for updates and please ask questions. Ask questions. We got some of the answers. Maybe
a few of them.
Yeah, maybe
we got the resources to the answers.
There you go. That's the good one.
There you go.
I find it.
There you go. Once again, it's Joshua. You can find me social media at Joshua_Be Impactful.
Yes, and you all can locate me on Instagram at Hannah Elise 2_. Until next time, please take care of yourself and your mental health.
And you can find me at Instagram on Terrence_Dawkins.
See y'all next time.
Take care.